My name's Taylor and I'm a developer advocate at Prismatic. Today I'm excited to share the Prismatic On-Prem agent, which is a tool that allows you to connect to resources that reside on your customer's private networks. This is handy if your customer has a service like a MySQL database or an SFTP server that's only accessible on their network. The On-Prem agent makes it possible to connect to those private resources from an integration that's hosted in Prismatic. So how does this work? Let's say I have a private network and some private resource like a database or a file storage system. I can spin up an on-prem agent, which is a Docker container, on my private network. When that Docker container spins up, it establishes a secure connection using mutual TLS with the on-prem service that's hosted in Prismatic. Once a connection is established, I can configure an instance that's deployed to a customer to proxy its requests through the on-prem service, which will go through the on-prem agent and make those requests over to the private resource. As an example here, I have a Postgres database that's running on my local network, and I can query my database locally, but my database isn't internet accessible. So I can't currently query the database from my Postgres integration that I have here in Prismatic. What I can do though is spin up one of these Docker containers on my local network that points to this Postgres database so that my instance over here can route traffic through the on-prem service, through the on-prem agent, and on over to my local service here. So let's go ahead and get one of those set up. The first thing I need to do when I'm setting up one of these is to generate what's called a registration token. I'm going to use the Prism CLI tool to create one of these JSON web tokens for a specific customer. This token is going to be used by the on-prem agent to register itself with the on-prem service. I'm going to go ahead and export this registration JWT as an environment variable. And once that's set, my next step is that I need to actually spin up this Docker container. So I'm going to go ahead and execute a Docker run command, and I'm going to pass this Docker run command a series of environment variables. I'm going to pass it a Prismatic URL. I happen to be using a dev environment for this example, but your Prismatic URL is just likely going to be app.prismatic.io. Or if you're running in the Canada, Europe, Australia, or GovCloud regions, you just need to use that URL for your Prismatic URL. I'm going to instruct my Docker container. I'm going to give it a host for the service that I want to proxy traffic to. In this case, my Postgres service. Postgres runs on port 5432 usually. That's configurable, and other services run on other ports, so check what ports your service that you want to integrate with is running on. And then I'm going to go ahead and give my service a name and pass in that registration token that I created earlier. So my Docker container is spinning up and it's registering with the on-prem resource over here. It registered successfully and now the on-prem agent is running. My next step here is to configure my integration to allow for on-prem connections. If I open up my config wizard and the Postgres connection, I can toggle allow on-prem connections on this connection. This is going to allow my customers to select an on-prem resource when they configure an instance of my integration. So I'm going to save my integration, and then I'm going to go ahead and open up a test instance configuration. Normally when I'm connecting to a Postgres database, I'm prompted for a host and a port. But notice when I toggle this Use On-Prem Connection toggle, my host and my port inputs go away. That's because when my instance runs now, it's not going to reach out to the internet for a Postgres connection. it's going to be provided a host and a port from the on-prem service to connect to. My customer is going to be presented a drop-down menu with a list of the on-prem agents that are running. I'm going to go ahead and select the one that I just created. And I'm going to go ahead and click Finish. At this point, I've deployed an instance of my integration, and it's configured to send its requests, its Postgres requests, on over through the on-prem service, through the on-prem agent, and over to my database that's running on my local network. So I ran a test of my execution, and I can see that I got results back from my database. That connection established correctly. Now, there are a lot of uses for the on-prem agent. You can connect to databases, you can connect to file storage systems, or if you have an HTTP-based service that you're running on your local network or an email server, those are all good candidates for the on-prem agent. If you'd like to learn more about the on-prem agent, please check out our docs at prismatic.io/docs. And if you would like the on-prem agent service enabled for your organization, please reach out to your technical account manager and we can get that set up for you. Thank you.